So, good evening, everyone. I hope I'm completely audible and visible. Let me know if I'm not audible properly. I guess I should be. Um, so, let me know who all are there. Are we good to go? Everybody? All right. So, without much delay, I'll start. Um, as mentioned earlier, we'll do some vocab questions, something on grammar. Move on to the RC. RC today is a little bit difficult. ठीक है? So we'll take some time on that. With that, good evening everyone. I'm Siddhi Bangard. I did my MBA in HR from XLRI Jamshedpur, and you can join this Telegram link to stay updated about the classes. I guess by Monday we should be clear about how the GK classes will pan out. Hello AJ, hello Bhumika. So by Monday we should be clear about how the GK classes pan out, and you can follow me on the Unacademy app so that because all the GK sessions will actually happen on Unacademy platform, whether in the form of special classes or a plus course, everything will happen there. So with that, this course I just finished very recently. Good evening, Paki. I finished it on 28th November. So it has all parts, major aspects of static GK covered: geography, history, polity, economy, corporate GK, and international organizations. Please go and check it out. It's available on the Unacademy platform with the course name General Awareness Test Series for TESS and other MBA exams. Paki, I'm still recuperating. Not very good, but yes, decent enough to take a good class. Good evening, Rohit. So, agenda for today, vocab section and grammar for SNAP, IIFT and TESS, and RC is a little difficult today. So, the level is greater than TESS and somewhere near about CAT. All right, we are still not at the ZAT level of the RCs, but it should be good. All right, so with that, you can join us on the Telegram or the YouTube channel, wherever you deem fit, at the CAT4MBA channel. And most importantly, bring more of your friends to the Unacademy platform, because this is the best time. A lot of courses are starting there. And to access my plus courses, the previous one, November one, and the one that will happen in December, which will complete entire GK. So you can take the 3-month subscription, so that if you're preparing for CAT 2020 or MBA 2020, this looks like a good option. Otherwise, those who are preparing for CAT 2021 or CAT 2022, for 12 months it's 15,750 and 24 months it's 18,900. That is after using my code SBUS or Siddhi Bangard on Unacademy Plus, which gives you a 10% instant discount. Good evening, Jasnani. Good to see you here. So all set, everybody, all ready? As I told you, our first question will be about matching the grammatical function with the usage of a word. So I'll give you 1 to 1.5 minutes to solve this one. So you have to let me know how the word still is being used in different capacities in these sentences. Is that okay? Everybody clear? Sorted? I hope the picture is clearly available. All right, then your time starts now. By the way, I have a good news for you today. So as I told you, I'll teach you the figures of speech in one of the classes. जितने भी figures of speech होते हैं. So couple of them, I'm good, Tawari. I'm good. All right, I'm good. So a couple of them: allegory, alliteration, assonance, and synecdoche, and anaphora, I've already taught you. The remaining ones I'll be teaching you today, so it's going to be pretty enjoyable. Okay guys, time's about to be over, so let me know. Time's up. So who wants to answer this one? Yeah, what happened? Okay. So forget option A. What about option 2, 3 and 4? Option A is not the answer. That's there. So option A is not the answer. What about 2, 3 and 4? Anybody wants to answer this? हाँ एजे मैंने बोल दिया उसमें एरर है, वो तो आंसर भी नहीं है. अगर वो आंसर नहीं है तो फिर क्या आंसर है? And I've just got 2 replies. Okay. Yes, Mandhani is actually correct. Correct answer is option number 4. So here mothers still their babies actually means giving stillbirths. Stillbirths means the baby that is born is dead, right? So newborn babies are called neonatals and those who treat neonatals are called neonatalists. So when a mother gives birth to still babies, that means the baby that has been born is dead. It's not breathing, it's not alive. So it is actually a verb here, giving birth to still babies. All right. So option number 4. Now, 2 is matched to 7. What kind of waters are we talking about? Still waters. So it is often said that waters which are very peaceful, they're not making much noise, the depth is very huge. So that's there. Now, using as a noun, that's here in option 6. Still of the night means in the quiet of the night. It's very quiet at night. So in the quiet of the night, your sobs can be heard. And adverb, so here still is qualifying is. Is a verb in this sentence. He's still in business. And still is qualifying the verb. That's why it is functioning as an adverb in this sentence. So option number 4. So AJ and Paki, is it clear to you? Because both of you said option number 2 and Tiwari. Why is it supposed to be option number 4 and not option number 2? Is it clear? Tiwari and AJ, सबको clear है ये? Shall I move ahead? चले? Next question करें? Alright, so this one's the interesting one. We'll do 10 types of parts of speech today, and to make things easy for you, I have provided you with the list of parts of speech, right? There are 5 parts of speech here. You have 5 fill in the blanks, right? So I'll give you 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes to answer me in the format 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash and 4 dash, and write the names. What is 1, what is 2, what is 3, what is 4, which figure or which part of the speech are they? Alright? Okay. So this is going to be interesting and let's start. Alright, is there anybody here who is unable to follow what the question wants? If you're unable to follow what the question wants, let me know. The words that you have to select will come from here. Can be any of these. Alright, 1.5 minutes over. Last 45 seconds. Start answering. Okay, Prasanna already answered. Irony. Third is personification. 2 is metaphor. 5 is blah blah blah. What about 4? Third is personification. Okay. Prasanna, do it again. Anybody else wants to answer this or should I take you through this? आज तो मैंने words भी दिए हैं यार. आज तो बता दो. The first one is easy. So shall I discuss it or am I actually still, I should wait for getting some answers? Okay. Good evening, Mishra. Late to the class. क्या हो गया यार? Okay. चलो, I have a couple of answers. Let's discuss them one by one. थोड़ा सा clarity आ जाएगा. ठीक है? Now, the thing is, the first one is, it is suspected that higher officials in the government are involved in this scam. They have looted crores of money from unsuspecting citizens. What an irony, right? Irony is when, for example, we expect certain things to be in a certain way. It's supposed to be logically that way. For example, law enforcement officials, they're supposed to protect the law, right? And instead of that, if they start bending the law for their own personal gains, then it's an irony that you have put in place people in positions of trust and they are breaching the trust of the same people. So it's an irony. Okay? So the first one is an irony. Those who are supposed to protect the law, they are abusing it. Okay? So first, I guess everybody got correct. Mandhani, Prasanna, Jasnani. Okay? All right, Mishra. अब तू पढ़ने में ध्यान दे ले, अभी सुन ले जैसे जैसे बताती जा रही हूँ, ठीक है? तो चिंता मत कर. So that's there. Most of you got this correct. Now, the second one is, Ramola is dumb as a rock. That's a simile. You are comparing somebody to something, ठीक है? Metaphor would be Usain Bolt. Like here, in the third question, I could have written, Usain Bolt is a cheetah on the field. Right? Usain Bolt runs like a cheetah is a simile. Whenever you use the words as a or like a, right? That means you are using simile. That is simile as a figure of speech. You are not talking about metaphor. If you were talking about metaphor, we would have directly written them that way. So, for these people, like one of you or all of you must be having somebody in the group who's like really tall, or even in your normal classes somebody is there who's like exceptionally tall, तो उसको लंबू लंबू कह के सब चढ़ाते हैं. So you could have said he's tall, like he's a mountain. He's not a hill, he's a mountain. If you can see that mountain far away, that's the guy who's the tallest in our class. So that would be a metaphor. Or he's a lion in the field or on the field. So that is a metaphor. Here, both of them are similes. Okay? Now, this one, option number 4, is actually a very beautiful poem written by John Keats. So, John Keats, if you read about him, he's a very, 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 very well-known British poet, right, from the 19th century. And you will be amazed to know about his career. So, he died at the very tender age of 25, और तब तक तो वो famous हो गया था. So this guy, he is known for writing odes. Odes are 14-line poems usually. ठीक है, so his very famous poem is Ode to the Nightingale. This poem is Ode to the Autumn, when he's talking about autumn and writing good things about autumn. So here this sentence, these 4 sentences are a part of the poem that he's written. So they actually mean, he's talking about autumn. So when he says that autumn and autumn's friend sun, so he has personified friendship, he has personified autumn and the sun, and saying that they both are close bosom friend. Close bosom friend is a phrase which means somebody who's very close to your heart, very, वो बोलते हैं ना, chuddy buddies. So autumn and sun are chuddy buddies, and they together, they decide how the season should look like, and when the fruits and the vines that cover the roofs of houses, how they should grow and ripe. So that's how he's describing autumn. And I mean, going further in the poem, he says that, you know, autumn feels very sad about the thing that spring has a music about it. Spring is when birds are singing, birds are chirping, everything is so happy. And autumn is when everything is sad. So he asked the autumn not to be sad because you have a music of your own. So that's about the entire poem. So it was written by John Keats in the 19th century. Guys, are you still with me? And Akansha, I'm seeing you after a very, very long time. And no, option number or sentence number 3 is again a simile, because I'm using the words as a or like a. यहाँ तक सबको क्लियर है? आज मुझे कोई कमेंट्स वमेंट्स आ नहीं रहे हैं, तो मुझे कुछ पता नहीं चल रहा है. So let me know, is it clear? This here is personification. He has personified autumn and sun. And he has personified the relations between them as it exists between human beings. Everybody with me? Or am I talking to I don't know what? So हाँ ना कुछ बोलो कि मैम समझ आया, नहीं समझ आया, आ गया? Alright, ठीक है. तो ये है. And another beautiful thing about this guy is he actually has a very interesting life history. His entire family died of tuberculosis. Tuberculosis का दूसरा नाम is also consumption. Tuberculosis is also called consumption. So whenever you read a part of literature where it says that somebody died of consumption, that means that that person died of tuberculosis. So this person, he was actually from a very rich family, but he lost both his parents at a very early age to tuberculosis. And then nobody told him that he was rich. So he really had to fight hard for money. So much so that he had to become a doctor. But then he was like, if I become a doctor, I will never be able to become a poet. And when you read about this person, you'll be so envious of him that during his time, he had the company of poets like William Wordsworth. He had the best of the company that you can imagine, the poets that we actually read right now. So he had their company, and so by the time he died, it had only been 4 years when he was first published. So he is like Van Gogh. He achieved fame after his death. He was very sad. He wrote to one of his girlfriends saying that, you know what, if I had just some more time in my life, if I knew I was not dying, if I could actually spend some more time writing, I might have done something more worthwhile with my life. I could have written something which would have been a legacy. But nonetheless, all his friends, he wanted to commit suicide because he was in so much pain because of tuberculosis. But his friends thought that he was really great. And even though at first the critics didn't like the way he wrote, as soon as he died, I mean, only a couple of years after that, he became extremely, extremely famous and one of the most read poets of that time, of the romantic era that we talk about in poetry, and one of the most celebrated poets of English literature. So that's John Keats for you. ठीक है? All right, Akansha. Free हो अब, ठीक है? Everything good to go? लगता तो है समझ आ गया. अच्छा ठीक है, अब चल 5th वाले पे डिस्कस करते हैं. So sentence number 5 is PM Modi is extremely busy. He's trying to solve 1,000,000 issues a day. Can you see the hyperbole? Can you see the exaggeration? Obviously, he doesn't have 1,000,000 issues a day. He might be having hundreds of issues a day, but not million. So whenever you are using grandiloquent language or a language which exaggerates a lot, that's a sign of a hyperbole. All right? Good evening, Shiny. Long time. So that's a hyperbole. Is it clear? तो ये 5 हमने figures of speech किए अभी. Irony, simile, personification and hyperbole and metaphor. Alright? अब move करते हैं next part पे. So there are some very famous quotes. आज actually literature के बारे में बहुत कुछ पता चलने वाला है. And it's going to be a really, at least these 5 questions are going to be really informative. So I will again give you 1.5 minutes, all right, 1.5 to 2 minutes. So from 6 to 10, you have these 5 figures of speech written here. You can select what has to go in which part of the options, all right. So your 1.5 minutes starts now. So buckle up and do it. So parts of speech are important type of questions, especially from SNAP. SNAP IIFT में कभी कभी पूछ लेते हैं, SNAP में ज्यादा पूछते हैं, ठीक है? So all those who have joined abhi, have you understood the question? The words which are figures of speech are given at the bottom. You have to figure out which one has to go where. So you have 2 minutes. Answer me in the format 1 dash, 2 dash, 3 dash, 4 dash in a single line. All right? Okay, last 45 seconds. Yes, AJ, figure of speech ही है सारे के सारे. All of them. So you have to indicate which kind of figure of speech they are. All right? नहीं आएगा तो हम सब कुछ मतलब थोड़ा डिटेल में डिस्कस करेंगे ही. So time's up. I'll still give you 45 seconds just to type in the answers. तो जल्दी जल्दी करो. Okay, Jasnani figured out 7th and 9th. Jasnani, give one more try. 7th गलत है क्योंकि प्रसन्ना गलत है. So one more try. ये एक्चुअली क्वेश्चंस आ चुके हैं स्नैप में इस तरीके के, आइडेंटिफाइंग द फिगर ऑफ स्पीच एंड दे गेव यू सम रैंडम कोटेशंस. रजत का आंसर कुछ और ही आ रहा है. भाई रजत, उसमें पैराडॉक्स कहाँ है यार 10th में? ऑलराइट, सो यू वांट मी टू डिस्कस? वी विल डिस्कस दिस नाउ. द फर्स्ट वन, क्वेश्चन नंबर 6, ठीक है? कीप राइटिंग देम डाउन. जितना पार्ट समझ आ रहा है ना, मेक नोट्स ऑफ इट, ठीक है? War is peace, ignorance is strength, and freedom is savory. So have you guys heard about the famous novel 1984 by George Orwell? It's a very famous novel. It's one of the famous ones known for allegory. It has an extensive use of allegory in the entire novel. They have small stories which are indicative of some morality issues. All right. So, okay. Tiwari is close by. Sixth is paradox. ठीक है. Paradox होता क्या है? Paradox का मतलब है हम जो लिख रहे हैं that is counter intuitive. ठीक है? That is a paradox. Paradox, oxymoron and antithesis, they are very close. So there will be times when your oxymoron is a subset of a paradox. ठीक है? Now, paradox may, like, if somebody writes freedom is slavery, ignorance, we have read ignorance is bliss, ignorance is not good, ignorance is dark. We have read things like that. But when we say war is peace, now that's a very blatant statement to say. How can war be peace? So that's a paradox. This is one of the very famous quote, very famous quote from 1984. What essentially it meant was, जब इसको उस context में रख के देखते हैं, why was it used in the novel? So basically, whenever there is a very totalitarian government or a government which does not want its people to know much, okay, you can actually relate it with Pakistan. So war is peace. Why are they saying war is peace? Because in war, the country is united. People don't question government's motives. In fact, it is still used by a lot of governments when they want to deviate the conscience of the citizens from the pressing issues to something which is, which is not very pressing, or which shouldn't be the idea where they should be actually focusing their entire energy. That's when they start using wars, so that the entire country is united behind nationalism. Okay? So war is peace, ignorance is strength, and freedom is slavery. Why are they saying freedom is slavery? Because when you are a slave to somebody, you don't have your own agency, you don't think. And when you don't think much, you do as you're required to do, and that actually maintains harmony. So basically, you are free to do whatever you want, but within the constraints of the law or whatever the state demands of you. And ignorance is strength, because if you are not aware that what is exactly happening, you will stand unified to do what has been asked to do, right? You wouldn't apply your brains. So ignorance is strength. You wouldn't fight the government, and you wouldn't end up ruining your life or compromising your health. So that's what exactly happens in the case of whistleblowers. So war is peace, ignorance is strength, and freedom is slavery is a famous quote which indicates paradox. One of the very good examples of paradox. Okay? Yes, North Korea, Ethiopia kind of, but North Korea is a very good example. वैसे Bhumika, just since you said, this entire thing was actually written for America. How America is actually, steering away people. Though that is said it's a democracy, but they keep waging on wars and then saying, that America is great, or, bless America or something like that. So that's what it was indicative of then times, how the government can manipulate people. Now, seventh is happily married, or when you say the comedian was seriously funny, right? And somebody is silently yelling at you. You can see people staring and you feel that as if they want to yell at you. So they are all oxymorons. This is an oxymoron. The difference between an oxymoron and a paradox is that paradox में usually the things are counterintuitive. War कभी peace हम सोच नहीं सकते हैं. Oxymoron में what happens is it's a small phrase in which there are two words which cancel out each other. So alright, it will be a joke that somebody is happily married. So you can't be happy if you're married. That's what they indicate. So it's a joke. Alright, don't take it too seriously and get married whenever you want to. The third is option number 8. Alright. So it was the best of the times. It was the worst of the times. So it's a very famous quote from the book A Tale of Two Cities, written by Charles Dickens, also the author of Oliver Twist. Okay, he tells us about a London which was not as well to do as we see it now. So he used to write about the underbelly of London most of the times. So when you have a sentence, right, in which there are contradictions throughout, एक clause है which will say it was the best of the times, the next says it was the worst of the times, then it says it was the age of wisdom and it was the age of foolishness. So all the contradictory ideas are arranged in form of clauses. When they are done in a sentence, that's called antithesis. ठीक है? So paradox is a counterintuitive thing to say. Antithesis is contradictory ideas in a sentence. And oxymoron is contradictory ideas in a phrase where two words cancel out each other. Okay? So that's 6, 7 and 8 for you. Now let's move on to 9th and 10th. So the suits on Walk Street. Do you guys remember we discussed Synecdoche? And in Synecdoche I said India won against England by 9 runs. That means Indian team won against the England team by 9 runs. So India and England are basically representation of the entire team. So here also it's a similar concept, but there you were using the same word. You were using a part of the same word to indicate the complete item. For example, instead of writing the Indian team, you're simply writing India. Here you replace the word with a similarly meaning or close word. For example, here the suits on Wall Street walked off with most of our savings, right? So here the suits are basically indicative of the investment bankers who ran away with your money. So we have replaced the word bankers with suits. It's called a metonymy, right? And the other one where you actually put in an exact word but you use half part of the word to indicate the whole item, that's called a Synecdoche, which we have already discussed. So this is metonymy. And finally, onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia means when you use in sentences the word which are the actual sounds made by the animals or other things. For example, the whirring of the washing machine, the meow of the cat, the buzzing of the bees, right? In some of the literature, you will see the use of the sounds very often. That's called onomatopoeia, alright? When you use the sounds of the animals or whatever object you are using in the sentence, it's called onomatopoeia. Is that okay? So the last one is this one. Is it clear? सारे figures of speech हमने almost cover कर लिए हैं. Right? So we are done with this in this session. Remember them. The examples that I gave you, they are one of the most famous, most common examples. Anybody has any confusion in the 10 this figures of speech that we did today? Koi bhi confused to read a lot about them. So we have the idioms. You have the idioms written here. You have to match them with their meaning. Again, very common for SNAP, TIS and IIFT. इस तरह से हम लोग हमारा vocab अच्छा build कर रहे हैं. Yes, Mandhani, metonymy is not clear. Is that what you're saying? यार metonymy का simple मतलब है तुम बस words replace कर देते हो, ठीक है? What can be the other example? I'll have to remember. I'm not able to remember exactly. तो अभी मैं इसी example से तुझे समझा देती हूँ. Okay, antithesis. Question number 8. Okay, 8 I'll explain you. Antithesis and metonymy is confusing. Okay, देख metonymy में simply they could have written the bankers ran away with our money. All right. Instead of bankers, they choose to represent it with a different word which is close in meaning. You can easily follow. Who will be dressed up in suits? It's like a very sophisticated way of saying that the investment bankers ran away with your money. So the suits is indicative of the investment bankers who are very sophisticated, who are wearing good clothes and they work on the Wall Street and they ran away with your money. So that's metonymy. Metonymy simply means तुम एक word को किसी दूसरे close word से replace कर रहे हो but keeping the meaning intact just so that the language looks good. That's metonymy. Antithesis is when you talk about this, एक ही sentence है. This is like one of the most famous examples. That's why I'm taking it here. There is another one. So I don't think I have it today with me. If you guys can actually run the net right now, I don't remember the exact words of the poem. There is a poem by Robert Frost. The tuft of flowers. ठीक है, इसका last line देखना. So even when the men are working apart, they are working together. ठीक है, that's kind of the line in the end of this very very beautiful poem, The Tuft of Flowers. So इसमें he's saying even when the men are working apart, they are working together. So you have one idea where it says people are working apart or people are working alone, and another part where it says though even though they are working apart but they are working together. So it's a completely contradictory idea in the same sentence, similar to what Charles Dickens had written. The pen is mightier than the sword. Nahi, that's a different thing, Jasnani. पेन एंड स्वॉर्ड नहीं, पेन एंड स्वॉर्ड नहीं होगा यार. पेन इज माइटियर देन द स्वॉर्ड नहीं, क्योंकि उसमें तुम किसी वर्ड को रिप्लेस नहीं कर रहे हो. ठीक है, सो इट्स नॉट एन एग्जांपल ऑफ मिटोनी. ऑलराइट, ओके, गिव मी सम टाइम. मिटोनी पे आई गेट यू मोर एग्जांपल्स, बट आई एक्सप्लेन यू एंटीथीसिस इन द मीनवाइल. ठीक है, सो एंटीथीसिस में लुक एट दिस part only. It was the best of the times, it was the worst of the times. This indicates it was a very good time. This thing indicates it was very bad time. Then it was the age of wisdom, people were very wise, or it was the age of foolishness, people were foolhardy. It was an epoch of belief, it was the epoch of incredulity, something where you had belief somewhere where you couldn't believe things. So basically in the entire whatever he has written here, he's talking about the time in London where the time when he was there, a time full of contradictions because a lot was going on. For example, in India, so it's a time in India where you have people dying on the street because they don't have enough food, and India is also the obesity capital of the world. So at the same time you're having these kind of contradictions. So when these contradictions are put together in a single sentence as separate clauses, it's called antithesis. If there are just words which are contradictory to each other, for example, you cannot be happy while you're married, that's an oxymoron. And if something which you read is very counterintuitive, for example, how is war peace? War is supposed to be the opposite of peace. But if you're writing war is peace, or ignorance is strength, or ignorance is bliss, that's very counterintuitive. That's a paradox. अभी थोड़ा सा क्लियर हुआ है? Yes, Prasanna. Right, exactly. Prasanna just made it very visual for everybody. It's like a sine wave. Positives and negatives in the same thing. Yes. So, Mandhani, is it clear to you? AJ? Everybody? Those who asked the doubt, Paki? इसके लिए more examples ढूंढ लेंगे. Metonica I'm not able to recollect right now, but as I'll teach you, it will come to me. Okay? Everybody? All right. Then let's move on. So idioms, you have 1.5 to 2 minutes. Match the idioms. There's some wonderful idioms here. And your time starts now. Okay. मैं समझा दूंगी तुझे. भूमिका, just let me remember क्या हो सकता है. मेरे को याद नहीं आ रहा है. 1.5 minutes over. Okay, everybody clear? It's B. किसी को समझाना है? Because I got most of the answers here. All right. Okay. Yes, most of you are correct. It's option number B. ठीक है. Make a clean breast of it. To speak honestly, you know, we say na, lighten up your chest. So that's what you do when you lighten up your chest. You speak about something that has previously been kept a secret. For example, I often happen to see this. I don't know. So you guys must be on FB. Most of you must be on FB. Have any one of you seen the Women's Era posts? So I happen to do this idiotic thing of subscribing to their post once, and people post a lot of confessions over there, right? So they'll come clean, whether they had an affair outside their marriage, whether they had children outside their marriage, and then they'll keep asking you for all those advices on the public platform. So they make a clean breast of it on the Facebook platform using the Women's Era page. So that's one. Then show a clean pair of heels. Okay, so when we are talking about this should be HEELS. Sorry. When you show somebody a clean pair of heels, that means you've run away. Another one was legged it. We did it a couple of days ago. When somebody is legging it, that means they have ran away. All right. A man of straw is a man of no substance. He is just hollow. A brown study. So if okay, whenever I don't have the fortune of actually seeing you guys live in my class, but you know, there are times when somebody is actually daydreaming. They are completely lost in their own thoughts. So either that person is in a brown study. It's called dreaming or lost in your own thoughts. And alpha and omega, the essence or the beginning and the end. For example, I can say vocabulary is the alpha and omega of VARC. You know, it's the very essence of actually studying verbal ability and reading comprehension. You need to have a good vocabulary. So the next time when I say vocabulary is the alpha and omega of VARC, you should understand what I'm trying to say. All right. Okay, let's move on. So another one which we do daily. So this one is fill in the blanks. You have the idioms with you, right? Select the correct sentences and you have 1.5 minutes to do so. नहीं यार मैम जाग रही है, बिल्कुल जाग रही हैं, अलाइव हैं. ऐसे मैम नेशनल प्लेटफॉर्म पे सोती नहीं है. तू क्वेश्चन करना, तेरा टाइम चल रहा है, फटाफट आंसर कर. मैम सो गए क्या? मैम तुम्हारा एक जगह फाइनल होने के बाद फिर चैन से सोएंगी, पता चल जाएगा ना कि कहाँ पे हो गया है. मेरे स्टूडेंट सेटल हो गए हैं अच्छे अच्छे 20 स्कूल्स में, तो थोड़ा चैन पड़ेगा. प्रियेश, यू कुड हैव सिंपली गिवन मी द ऑप्शन. पूरा लिखने की जरूरत नहीं है, ठीक है? सो सॉर्टेड और यू वांट सम मोर टाइम? ऑलराइट, लास्ट 30 सेकेंड्स. बाकी लोग भी आंसर करो फटाफट. All right. So I have most of the people answering option number C, which is correct. Yes, it is C. So Sam is a compulsive liar. Trying to reform him is like waving a dead chicken, or which is a pointless activity, also called to flog a dead horse. And what was the other idiom we learned about it? Bringing owls to Athens, right? हमने दो और इसके अलावा idioms करे थे, to flog a dead horse and bringing owls to Athens and waving a dead chicken. All the three mean that whatever activity you are doing is absolutely pointless. याद आ रहा है किसी को? We did it. Now, she had a whale of a time means she was very happy at the carnival. Since my manager did not ask me anything about me coming late that day, I did not speak to him about it. It is best to let sleeping dogs lie. What does that mean? If there is a difficult situation and so you better ignore it or you don't talk about it rather than bringing it to life because it might create some other problems. तो कितनी बार बोलते हैं ना कि चुप रहने में भलाई है. So that's like let sleeping dogs lie. Fourth is carnival is a festive place, a fair. मेले में नहीं जाता था कि तू बचपन में प्रसन्ना? Fairs, fetes, स्कूल में होते हैं ना carnivals. So annual carnivals where people get together, you have swings, you have merry-go-rounds and you have those Ferris wheels. So that's a carnival. Alright? हाँ, मेला, बिल्कुल. If Shyam had not, right? If Shyam had not poured oil on troubled waters, Ram and Shama would still be fighting. What does pouring oil on troubled water means? It means you pacify a situation, you make a situation better. Alright? यार where to do का मुझे नहीं पता है क्योंकि स्नैप वालों ने मुझे भी नहीं बताया कि वो कहां से पूछने वाले हैं. ठीक है. The best bet is to do as many idioms as possible and to improve your vocabulary. जहां से भी words मिलते हैं. The more you learn, the better it is. And a better way to learn vocab is whatever word you learn. ठीक है, उसके 3-4 synonyms और 2-4 antonyms पता होने चाहिए. तो eventually your vocabulary grows out. There is no other way, simplified way to do it. Right? ठीक है, important words जैसा उन्होंने मुझे भी नहीं बताया. And while I was studying, this is how I studied. जितने idioms मुझे मिल सकते थे, I used to prepare them and kind of so see, you have to learn to love vocabulary. There is no, I don't think there is any bend or there is a shortcut to do that, right? Okay, so there is actually so in ancient times there used to be sailors. So they figured it out. It was Pliny the Elder. I do not know if you have heard his name. Pliny the Elder was an Italian philosopher, all right? Italian or Greek, I don't know, he was Greco-Roman philosopher. So he had actually figured this out thousands of years ago that when you are actually moving a ship in a stormy time, right, when the sea is in storm, and if you pour oil on that sea, then you can sail through smoothly. It will calm the troubled waters. So finally, Benjamin Franklin, all right, he conducted this experiment, and while he was at sea, he figured out there were two other ships sailing in the same water, and they were going on smoothly despite a storm in the sea. So he figured out that the cooks who were cooking there, so they had let the entire oil or whatever oil was left after cooking into the seas. So that actually smoothened the edges of the ship and it was able to sail across nicely in troubled waters. So from there you get this idiom to pour oil on troubled waters. That means to soothe or calm a situation, to alleviate a situation, a bad situation. Is that okay? So this is related to this. Now, let's move on. These are very easy questions. Okay? Something from grammar. So this should be particularly easy. They are of the level of SNAP, IIFT and TEST. Grammar आसान आती है, except for the part of what we had to do. Active and passive speech, I guess वो कल कर ही लेंगे. because yesterday I was a little ill, so I couldn't prepare that. So this is the level of test, snap and IIFT grammar. So this should be pretty easy. I'll give you 1.5 to 2 minutes for question number 1, 2, 3. Answer in the format 1 dash, 2 dash and 3 dash. Is that okay? Your time starts now. By the way, idioms are clear to everybody? आज सब लोग इतने चुप चुप क्यों हैं? सब ठीक है ना? मतलब तबीयत मेरी खराब है, तुम लोग क्यों चुप हो? Okay, I have a couple of answers here. B, C and A. Okay. This is quite easy, right? Last 45 seconds. I want every single person to answer. श्याम मोहन कौन है भाई मेरी क्लास में? कृष्ण भगवान के सारे नाम एक ही साथ. बढ़िया है. Okay, so yes, Sham, I know. Mishra, stop being nasty. And okay, मिश्रा के पास बहुत टाइम था लिखने के लिए. 1 का B है. Okay. Yes, one is it was the first time he had eaten. ठीक है, क्योंकि हम past tense में बात कर रहे हैं, तो this action has actually happened before. So इसलिए थोड़ा past perfect में चले जाएंगे. So had eaten. I am busy on Friday, so I cannot come or can't come. ठीक है, this is very simple. This is simple present. And since you went to Germany last year, something which has happened in the past, simple past would do. So go ka past will be went. So option number A is your correct answer here. So I guess most of you got this correct, right? I'm not explaining this again. All right. So another 45 seconds to 1 minute for you. Answer in the format 4 dash, 5 dash and 6. All right. The time starts now. So Akansha, will you be regular in the classes from now on? या फिर से भागने का इरादा है? Okay, so I already have a lot of answers with me. Time's up, guys. ठीक है, so the answers I can see are Akansha, that's your answer, right? The first one, BCA. Am I correct? Okay. So this one is C. Beautiful, long, black. I will discuss why. This one was easy. Fifth and sixth are very easy. Okay? So, okay, it's not D. Fifth is he hardly ever works as hard as he should. So option number D. And I'd love to have lived in the 19th century. So the correct options are C, D, D. So I guess Shiny got it correct. And Shiny के अलावा Sham Mohan got this correct. So only two people got it correct so far. Sham Mohan and Shiny. ठीक है? Let's just discuss why so. ये beautiful long black ही क्यों होगा? Long beautiful black या black long beautiful क्यों नहीं हो सकता? So there is a rule with the adjectives. All right. So whenever you have a series of adjectives, we have done this question before. Whenever you have a series of adjectives, the adjective of opinion वो सबसे पहले आएगा, उसके बाद डायमेंशंस आएंगे, उसके बाद कलर आएगा. सो दैट्स अ जनरल ऑर्डर. देयर इज अ वेरी ह्यूज लिस्ट वैसे तो एडजेक्टिव्स के ऑर्डर की, सो वी नॉट गोइंग टू डू द ह्यूज लिस्ट. It is advisable that you use your discretion which sentence sounds good. So she is wearing a black, long, beautiful dress. So you actually cannot identify where the long and beautiful are going for. So long and beautiful is for the black, or for the dress, it's a little difficult to identify. She is wearing a long, beautiful black dress. Okay, that sounds kind of okay. But if you go strictly by the grammar, then we say adjectives of opinion come first. So opinion is here beautiful. The dress is beautiful. That's an opinion. Long and black are the dimensions and the color respectively. They are the tangible objects. So if you have to choose between intangible adjectives and tangible adjectives, then the intangible adjective will come first, followed by the tangible adjectives. And in the tangible adjectives, the dimensions of the object being described, they will come first, followed by the color. Is that okay? So that's a general order. So option number C is the correct one. Now, anybody has doubts in question number 5 and 6? I guess Rajat, तूने question number 6 का option number C क्यों किया है? I would have loved to lived. यार, see. So, Rajat, for question number 6, there is a general rule. When you wish for something, na, then you write it in this format. I would have loved to have lived, not lived. Simple past नहीं आएगा. It will be present perfect. ठीक है? So, you are wishing for something. It's like जब हम बोलते हैं ना, if I were the queen of Britain. So if I was नहीं बोलते, if I were ही बोलते हैं. So it's kind of a what do you say, grammatical fussiness over something. But the correct tense here would be I would have loved. I would have loved to. I would have loved. I would love to have lived, because you would have wanted to live in the past. इसलिए lived आ रहा है past के लिए, and have आ रहा है because you are wishing for something in the present. ठीक है? You're wishing in the present, so it's have, and lived because you wanted to have lived in the past in the 19th century. So lived here. ठीक है? So let's move on. Now these are actually ZAT level questions. यहाँ पर कभी कभी pronunciations आ जाते हैं ZAT में भी और IIFT और SNAP में भी. TIS never asks for the pronunciations, right? So this is ZAT level. यहाँ पे बहुत close है, so you really have to know the meanings, and this is both ZAT, IIFT, SNAP level. So you have 1.5 minutes and your time starts now. Any doubts from the previous questions तो मुझे बता देना. What happened, Tiwari? Okay, so people are asking me, answer क्या है? Okay, so time's about to get over. All right, Rajat is asking me instead of telling me. ठीक है, shall we discuss this? कोई बोल रहा है C and 2 का भी C. Okay. Okay, C and A. Great. Yes, this is C, investigate and interrogate, and this is A. Now we'll discuss why. So this one, the first one is a previous ZAT question related to inspect and vivisect. So inspectors, you go and you just look around and see if something is amiss. Vivisection usually means when you dissect an insect or an animal, which we usually do in biolabs. So we had to dissect frogs in our biolabs when I was doing my this 10 standard practicals. All right, so that's there. Now, so basically inspectors, you go and look for something. Vivisectors, you completely dissect it, so it's higher in intensity. So the difference here is that of intensity, which is going from lower to higher. Inspectors of lower intensity, vivisectors of higher intensity of the same what do you say, same kind of word. So inquire and inquire. Inquire here means asking, and inquire here means basically when you do an inquiry, a formal inquiry, right? Interrogation kind of thing. Okay? So definitely these two are not the higher versions or higher intensity words. Investigate on the other end is a normal thing, but when you are interrogating something, it becomes very aggressive and the intensity is heightened. So option number C is the correct answer here. Yes, it is sobriquet. It's not sobriquet, it's actually sobriquet. That's the correct pronunciation. So you'll have to भूमिका एक्चुअली अभी तक हम जो भी बोलते हैं ना, तो हम उसको बोलते गलत हैं. इट्स एक्चुअली sobriquet, and just like it's extempore, it's not extempore, it's extempore, and it's not a monk, it's actually a monk, the monk who sold his Ferrari, and not the monk who sold his Ferrari. All right, and it's usually not the donkey, it's actually the correct pronunciation. If you go by Queen's English, is donkey. All right, so monkey is monkey, monkey is not monkey, but donkey is donkey. Banquet is banquet. Ye Paki, you are asking me questions like he was asking in that movie चोरी चुपके चुपके something, you know, कि TO2 होता है, DO2 होता है, तो GO गू क्यों नहीं होता है, गो क्यों होता है. So banquet is banquet, but this is sobriquet. All right. So that's the difference. As I told you, it's not extempore, it's extempore. It's not a monk, it's a monk. It's not a donkey, it's actually donkey, going precisely. So it's a sobriquet. So if you go and Google it, this is the correct pronunciation. ठीक है? Priya, sorted? Others? Everybody sorted? ठीक है? अब मतलब I really can't help it. It is that way. Okay. Moving ahead, again from that, this is what we have. So you have 1.5 minutes. Figure out closely spaced words. कल से हम थोड़ा नोबल लॉरिएट की लिटरेचर लाना मैं शुरू कर दूंगी, so that we gain access to good kind of literature. So from tomorrow onwards that will start happening, and I hope my health keeps me in a good shape. So let's start. The best way to do it is, जिनके मीनिंग्स तुम्हें पता है उसको एक बार फिट करके देख लो, तो बहुत जल्दी से हो जाएगा. Instead of trying to find the meaning of every word, try to fit what you already know. एक भी नहीं पता भूमिका, दैट्स नॉट अ वेरी गुड साइन एक्चुअली. कुछ कुछ तो पता होने चाहिए. चलो कोई दिक्कत नहीं, अभी हम डिस्कस कर लेंगे. जितना पता है उतना करो फटाफट. लास्ट 45 सेकेंड्स. सो भूमिका कोई भी एक आंसर दे दे, देखा जाएगा जो भी होगा. अच्छा, डू यू गाइज सी ज़ैट के इन क्वेश्चंस के लिए इट्स इंपॉर्टेंट दैट वी नो अबाउट होमोफोन्स. They sound similar, but they are completely different in meaning. So I'll introduce you to some today. But if you want, we can have a session on that. ठीक है? Or rather, I'll give you a link to some old sessions on Unacademy. One of my friends, he was from Excel only. He had taken session on homophones. तो एक बार जाके homophones check कर लो, because this problem can be easily solved using that. All right, most of you are correct. It's option number C. ठीक है? Why? Now I'll tell you the differences. उसके बाद बिल्कुल क्लियर हो जाएगा हम किस बारे में बात कर रहे हैं. There is this word called eminent and imminent. Imminent means something which will happen in near future. ठीक है? So the discovery of vaccine for coronavirus is imminent. That means it might happen in near future. ठीक है? An announcement which was made an year ago. Eminent is somebody who is very prominent figure, a very well-known, very popular figure. ठीक है? So we can say Shah Rukh Khan is an eminent personality of Bollywood, right? So that's where you use eminent. And if we say, okay, Shah Rukh Khan will be coming to Jaipur or coming to Rajasthan imminently, right? That means in near future. ठीक है? So this is near future, and this is your person of eminence or person of prominence. So he is the most eminent. Eminent आएगा यहाँ पर. ठीक है? यहाँ पे eminent तो आ नहीं सकता, तो eminent के पास हमारे पास सिर्फ दो ही ऑप्शंस हैं. तीन ऑप्शंस है रादर, ए सी एंड डी, राइट? सो दैट्स देयर. नाउ ए सी एंड डी के मतलब ई ऑप्शन नहीं हो सकता है एंड बी नहीं हो सकता है. The belief in justice, the belief in dash justice is the essence of his talk. We really don't know because इसमें imminent भी fit नहीं होगा, near future की बात हो रही है. This hall would have been full but for the imminent rain. The imminent rain means rain हो सकती है अभी अभी, so people have checked the weather. That's why they're not coming. That's why we have something called rain check, right? So that's where the word comes from. So imminent rain. So imminent दो ही जगह आ रहा है, so option A नहीं होगा. It will be either option C or option D. Now fourth option को देखते हैं. Many in the audience have achieved eminence. Why not eminence? Because eminence would mean near future. Eminence means prominence in their respective fields or respective lives. So eminence यहाँ पर आएगा. So that makes it option number C. Now this leaves us with the word immanent. What is immanent? Immanent means something which is inherent. ठीक है? God is immanent in all of us. God is inherent in all of us. The belief in immanent justice, in inherent justice, is the essence of his talk. इसका मतलब क्या है sentence का? The meaning of the sentence is that the justice is done inherently. World has its unique ways. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a very, very old story back in Hindi and back in somewhere 4th or 5th standard कि स्वर्ग और नर्क दोनों धरती पर ही हैं. Whatever justice has to be done happens here only. There is an inherent justice in the universe. It will bring to you what you deserve, whether it's good or it is bad. So that is what we mean by immanent. Immanent means inherent, which something which is inherent, which is already there. Is that okay? अभी clear है differences सारे? Everybody clear? Should I move ahead? आज का passage काफी अच्छा है, थोड़ा difficult है आज का passage. So be prepared for that. Okay. Now we have a couple of words. ठीक है? So this one is extremely easy if you know the meaning of a few words. If you don't know the meaning of a few words, it's okay. Because when you will know them, your alpha and omega will definitely increase. So I'll give you 1.5 minutes to sort this out and tell me which of the above words have similar meanings. Okay? मिश्रा, तेरे को कुछ समझ में आ रहा है कि बस ऐसी जिंदगी चले जा रही है? हाँ? आ रहा है? चल ठीक है. भूमिका एक बार फिर से देख, आंसर गलत है. ओके, जिसका जो मन आ रहा है वो आंसर दे रहा है मुझे, क्यों? ऑलराइट, टाइम्स अप. 1.5 मिनट्स अप. लेट्स मी सी. अच्छा, जिंदगी भी सही चल रही है. सिद्धार्थ इज अ केस ऑफ TMI, टू मच इंफॉर्मेशन. क्यों मिश्रा? अच्छा लगता है इसको, पब्लिक प्लेटफॉर्म पे सारी अटेंशन इसके ऊपर फोकस्ड होती है. ठीक है, चलो. सो लेट्स टेक अ लुक एट दिस. ऑप्शन नंबर डी जिन लोगों ने भी किया है, दे आर करेक्ट. इट्स ओनली थर्ड, फोर्थ एंड सिक्स्थ दैट आर करेक्ट. बाकी के मीनिंग्स हम अभी देखते हैं, व्हाट डू दे मीन. So calamitous is something which is bad omen, something which is bad, apocryphal, ठीक है? Something which is very, very bad. Say a zombie attack. That's calamitous, or a cyclone aa gaya, that is a calamity. Catastrophic, similar meaning. It is a catastrophe. It's a very bad natural or supernatural or artificial event which is causing a lot of damage. Catalysmic, again, similar in meaning. So, third, fourth and sixth are same. What about the other ones? Cacophonic is an unpleasant sound. हम बोलते हैं ना cacophony, cacophony of life, unpleasant sounds from everywhere. That's called cacophony. Opposite of this is baritone, a male voice which is very soothing to ears. Cacographic, on the other hand, जो कि तुम लोग मेरे लिए बोलते हो, is bad handwriting, or any doctor's handwriting is cacographic. All right, that's a case of bad handwriting. Now, there is a very interesting word called contraindicative. ठीक है? It's basically a medical term. Contraindicative. ठीक है? Medical term में, what this actually indicates is that, so for example, somebody is diagnosed with a disease and they need to be treated in a certain manner. For example, say a pregnant woman, she's showing signs of tuberculosis. She has been vomiting blood. Now, how do you actually diagnose tuberculosis? So you basically get a chest x-ray done. So if your lungs are showing inflammation, that means you have tuberculosis. So, but it is contraindicative. It is usually not suggested for pregnant women to get an x-ray done because it does a lot of harm to the baby. So that's a contraindicative. And there is one more thing. For example, children or teenagers who are, they are facing a viral infection, then these children are advised against giving them aspirin because it might lead to permanent brain damage. So that's called contraindicative. Is that okay? तो ये 3-4 words थे जो different थे. The similar ones I've already told you. Now, RC is here for you. Take your time, read. All right, 2 to 3 minutes to read this page, and then 2 to 3 minutes to read this page. It's a little long RC. तो आज हम एक ही RC करेंगे, but it's actually a pretty interesting RC. And the questions are easy, even if you get a small hang of what's happening. ठीक है कि exactly बात किस बारे में कर रहे हैं, then the questions are easy. So brace up, everybody ready? किसी को पुराने questions में कोई doubt है? Any doubts in whatever we have done till now? हाँ मिश्रा, कल सैटरडे है भाई, कल संडे नहीं है. कल क्यों नहीं क्लास रखेंगे? अभी कॉर्पोरेट में गया नहीं है, इसको पहले वीकेंड चाहिए. क्यों क्यों पूछ रहा है मिश्रा? So everyone, shall we start? कोई डाउट्स है पिछले क्वेश्चन से? करें फिर आगे चले? चलो. So you have 3 minutes to read this and the 3 minutes to read the next one, and then we'll move on to the questions. Mishra is naughty. चलो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. Let's start. Mishra is too happy with his life. बताओ. अभी एग्जाम दिए बिना ही खुश होता रहता है मिश्रा. एग्जाम नहीं दे रहा है शायद, इसलिए खुश है मिश्रा. क्यों मिश्रा? प्रिपरेशन बहुत सॉलिड चल रही है मिश्रा की. बाय द वे, जिन लोगों को सीरियसली अपने अल्फाज एंड ओमेगास ठीक करने हैं फॉर VARC, जितने भी वर्ड्स मैं यहां डिस्कस करती हूं, एटलीस्ट एक जगह पे उनको नोट डाउन कर लो विद द मीनिंग्स. एग्जाम में जाने के 15-20 मिनट, आधा घंटा पहले एक बार वर्ड्स देख लेना. दैट शुड बी इनफ. वी हैव कवर्ड अ हेल लॉट ऑफ वर्ड्स. आधी डिक्शनरी तो हम क्लास में ही कवर कर लेंगे. तो वो थोड़ा सा एफर्ट मुझे तुम्हारी साइड से चाहिए. ठीक है? All right, last 45 seconds. All right, guys. पढ़ लिया है तो बताओ. We should move on to the next page. Are you still reading? Let me know. Done? Okay. All right. Okay. A couple of people are still reading. Guys, can you please take snapshots? I'll give you 30 more seconds. Complete your reading. Priyesh has a knack for writing the full forms of even the abbreviations. He could have said PTO, ma'am. He's writing, ma'am, please turn over. All right. All right. Moving ahead. Have your 3 minutes. Read the passage. So let me know when this one's done. Are you guys done? Everybody done? आगे चले? Let me know when you guys are done. We'll move on to the next page and we'll do the questions. And while we do the questions, I'll explain you the entire scene where this whole thing is coming from. It's a little difficult. The passage is going to be a little difficult, but it's actually quite interesting. All right, everybody done? Great. Let's move on then. So these are your questions. You answer them first, right? एक बार तुम answer करो. There are 6 questions, 30 to 35. You answer you answer them first. Post which we'll discuss the entire passage in the story format, what exactly happened, and then we'll discuss the answers. Right? Everybody on the same page? So let's start. I'll give you 3 minutes to answer these 3 questions. Questions थोड़े से tough हैं, so be a little careful. Your time starts now. And obviously the answer has to be in the format 30 dash, 31 dash and 32 dash. प्रियेश सारा एक ही लाइन में आंसर कर, अलग अलग मत कर क्योंकि फिर ना मैं आंसर्स चेक नहीं कर पाऊंगी तेरे, ठीक है? सो एक लाइन में आंसर कर. One 1.5 minutes over. All right, last 45 seconds. I have 3 answers. बाकी लोग भी आंसर करना शुरू करो भाई. Okay, so I have a couple of answers here. All right, so let's discuss this. 30 का आंसर मुझे मैक्सिमम लोगों ने स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम मिश्रा 1 दिया है, 31 का 3 दिया है, and 32 ka 4. Everybody is kind of able to align with that. All right, so well, 30 is yes, it's option number 1. 31 is 4 and 32 is also 4. So why is it so? Basically the thing is the passage. Do you want me to explain this one? Or is everybody clear? Jasnani has answered 30 ka 4 and a couple of people have given me 30 ka answer is 4. All right. The thing is ki the passage, actually if you look at the passage, it starts with this person Ovid. He was banished from Rome, right? He was one person who was actually writing about the indulgences and excesses that were being done in Rome. And Augustus here is the person who was at that point of time heading the Roman Empire. ठीक है? So because he was considered to be somebody who is not falling in line, somebody who is very radical, उसको वहां से बाहर निकाल दिया. देश निकाला बोलते हैं ना हिंदी में. He was thrown out. Very good Mandani, very good. हाँ, सब explain कर रही हूँ. So he was thrown out. Now when he was thrown out, so if you actually read here, they have written here, the poet was sent to the outer limits of the known world. If you remember, when I was teaching you about Indian history, तो मैंने तुमको बोला था कि when Vasco da Gama actually started out, or when that Ferdinand Magellan, जिसके पीछे Magellan Strait है South America में, when he was making that trip all around the world to see if the world was flat or round, तो उस टाइम पे it was believed that the only world that existed was यूरोप. उन लोग को यही लगता था सारे फिलोसफर्स को कि जो वर्ल्ड है वो यूरोप ही है, मतलब लिमिट्स ऑफ वर्ल्ड, बिकॉज दैट टाइम अर्थ वाज कंसिडर्ड टू बी फ्लैट, कि वहां से आप यूरोप से बाहर जाओगे तो नीचे गिर जाओगे. एंड एनी अदर थिंग जो उनको बाद में पता चली, whatever they discovered in the post Renaissance period when they were actually looking out and going out and exploring new territories, that was named as the New World. New World, specifically the name has been given to the Americas, which I have already discussed with you when we discussed the Vasco da Gama case and the Magellan wala Strait wala thing when I was teaching you world geography. Okay? So this guy, he's thrown out and he's sent to a place called Thomas, which is now in present day Romania. So Romania was then the outer extent of the रोमन एम्पायर. ठीक है, यहां पर मतलब रोमन सिविलाइजेशन का कुछ पता ही नहीं चलता था. इट वॉज मोर लाइक स्पार्टा. डू यू रिमेंबर ग्रीस के साथ स्पार्टा था. सो स्पार्टन्स वर दे वर वॉरियर ट्राइब. सो सिमिलरली टोमिस के जो लोग थे, दे वर सर्वाइविंग अ वेरी हार्ड लाइफ. And if you look at the geography, I had already taught you that Danube actually falls into the Black Sea. So it's very far from where we did Italy and everything. So it's completely out of the Roman Empire. He was banished to that place far, far away from the kingdom. And by this time, so he was married. This was his third marriage. तब तक इसकी तीसरी शादी हो चुकी थी. So finally, he sent off to this town where he doesn't even know the people's language. तो यहाँ तक for the first 2 paras, we are actually talking about what exactly happened to Ovid. He was one of the most celebrated poets of Rome during that time. And do you know what he was celebrated for? He was celebrated for writing elegies. Elegies, पता है क्या होती है? So there are 2-3 words that we have already done. One is a dirge. A dirge is a song which you sing at somebody's funeral, right? In their praise. Then there is eulogy, when you praise somebody at their funeral. And the last is elegies. So after an eulogy, so eulogy mein to you just talk about that person, but if somebody wants to express more of their feelings, they write a poem for the person who's dead. That's called an elegy. All right. So there are 3 new words for you. Now, so he was sent out. Now there is this another guy called David Miloff. He is an Australian poet. He decides that he will write about the life of this man. Because why are we saying it's an imaginary life? First, because it was a very extraordinary thing to be banished from your civilization and then you are spending your life somewhere else. So that's why it's an imaginary life. Another reason why it was named as an imaginary life was because people are still not sure that Ovid was actually thrown out. Some people, some literature people, they still suggest that everything that he writes about the people of Tomis and how he had to spend in his life in Tomis is actually a result of his fertile imagination. He was never banished. He has just imagined it and written it, because whatever sources we find about him being banished are those from his own biography. They're not from anywhere else. Nobody has confirmed it. So nonetheless, this person decides that, I'm going to write about Ovid because his country is also a country of contradictions. They embrace both the people who are cosmopolitans, who are living in the city and, accepting new culture, and aborigines who are the old people. So the Metamorphosis, this book was actually the magnum opus of Ovid. So he decides, it's a kind of a figure of speech which I'm not able to put my hands right now on, or figure right now on. So he's using the same word here. So he is saying that just like the author of Metamorphosis, he wants to write one final book which will be called An Imaginary Life, which will show the transformation of Ovid from a poet who was not listening to anybody and who thought that Rome was the epitome of civilization, to somebody who will understand the rules of living a life very simple as the people of Tomis did. Nonetheless, he starts writing about it, and finally he describes whatever things that Ovid faced there. And one thing which we read in the last passages, they talk about a boy. So what Ovid actually did there, what he writes in his own books, Ovid writes that, he had actually captured a wild boy, one of the people, residents of Tomis, to teach him the ways of Tomis, because the language was also different and he was finding it very difficult to talk to people or to actually embrace their culture. But instead of, him being able to teach the guy his mannerisms or his kind of civilization, the boy was able to teach him the bliss of living in nature in a wild manner and what nature has to teach you. And finally, he kind of becomes a changed person. That's the metamorphosis we are talking about. So this is in brief the summary of the passage. Story jisko aur janni Ovid ki, let me know. Yes, metaphor would be he's a lion. ठीक है? And he's as brave as a lion would be a simile. ठीक है? So direct comparison is a metaphor. Like as or so much as, that's a simile. Alright, Mishra? Now, coming to this, 30th ka first hoga, because we are completely describing his life as an expatriate, somebody who was thrown out. 31, all of the above. Why? First thing, yes, irreverence, that's where your vocab part comes in. ठीक है? Irreverence actually means somebody who makes fun of something which is considered to be serious and respectful by the society. For example, जैसे हम लोगों जिन लोगों को हम hippies बोलते हैं, so we take respecting elders or we take non-consumption of alcohol and drugs as a very serious issue. So somebody who's making fun of it, or we take monogamy as a very serious thing. So somebody who says no, we should be adulterous or we should do whatever we feel like, that would be irreverent. Okay? The people who don't go with the belief system of the society. So exactly, actually, if you go in the hindsight, that's what Ovid exactly did. So his Augustus, who was ruling Roman Empire that time, he had come up with the law on monogamy to promote the birth rate in their empire. Okay? Otherwise, people were dying here and there. So this guy, he writes a book where he promotes adultery, and that's why Augustus says there's nothing august about you. August means there's nothing good about you, and that's why he was banished from the kingdom. So this one is correct. The second is he attempts to civilize the boy, backfire on him in unexpected ways. Yes, that's true, because instead of learning his ways, the boy actually, teaches him how to howl in the open nature and actually to experience your senses. So that's 2 is correct. And yes, he gradually realizes, he used to think that there is no civilization beyond the Roman world. But finally, when he lives with those people, he starts embracing their culture, their ways of living. He understands that there are different ways to live and experience life. So option number 3 is also correct. That's why option number 4 is your correct option. Guys, are we clear till here? मतलब ऐसा तो नहीं है ना कि सब कुछ बाउंसर है. Is the story clear? What exactly happened? what transpired, because you'll be answering the next 3 questions on your own and I'm not going to explain it. तो मुझे अभी बताओ कुछ नहीं समझ आया है तो. Every single person, yes or no? If anybody has a doubt, ask me which part you have a doubt. So Shiny and Mishra are the only people who understood everything. Howling, have you seen dogs at night? So they'll cry out to their distant relatives. रात को train की आवाज आएगी, कुछ भी आएगी, they'll start howling. That's howling. A very loud voice, usually associated with these wolves and dogs, right? हाँ, 32 के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं प्रियेश. I'm asking till now, have you understood everything? 32 I will be talking about. Now, according to the passage, what does dying of civilization refer to? Now, for this, we'll actually go back to the passage. Here it comes. When Ovid was banished, he was the most civilized man in a Rome that was dying of civilization. He had so articulated its excesses, its indulgences, had found such a perfect form for them that they seemed to be natural. Now, the thing is, its here actually stands for the Roman civilization. So the Roman civilization was dying because whatever was happening was an excess. People were being indulgent in excesses, like something which is happening with us right now. This man, he pointed out what was wrong with their society and was thus banished, right? And when we talk about a dying civilization, dying of a civilization, matlab, yeah, civilization tab bhi rehti hai when there is a balance. For example, our civilization is threatened in the present times. If you actually look at very closely, Corona nearly wiped out 50% of our economy. That's how a civilization dies. Because we were being so indulgent, we were actually committing so many excesses on nature. So similarly was happening, something like that was happening in Rome. The excesses, the abuse of resources, the abuse of normal human relationships, the balance had been lost. That's why it was a dying civilization. So that's why a civilization that was becoming a threat to people because of its growing excesses and was therefore deteriorating. Now, those excesses can be also in the terms of the rules and laws that were coming in. For example, if somebody starts dictating whom you should marry, when you should marry, when you should have kids, how many kids you should have, then that civilization starts deteriorating because people don't have the freedom to express themselves or to control their own outcomes, right? Something which is happening in North Korea. So that's why option number 4 is the best option. If it was suffering for betterment and improvement, he would have never been banished. A place where civilization had never existed, no, Roman civilization is very well known. And existing civilization that was facing challenges and therefore finding hard to survive, this is very generalized. Option number 4 is kind of not so generalized, yet encompassing what has been given in the passage. Priyesh, is it clear to you? Clear hai? Is the explanation clear to you, Priyesh? तो फिर हम 33, 34, 35 करेंगे. Alright? You guys have 3 minutes for these 3 questions and then we'll end today's session. So last 5 minutes and then we'll wrap up. Everybody with me? सबको समझ आया है या मुझे अकेले समझ आया है? Everybody good? Understood? Clear? All right. Let's start then. 3 minutes for these 3 questions. Mishra, have you understood? And Bhumika, Prasanna, I'm not seeing Venki today. Where is he? All right, Mishra. 1.5 minutes over. All right. Last 45 seconds. जसनानी, देखो सब समझ आ रहा है? हाँ, कोई दिक्कत तो नहीं है? All right, time's up. So थोड़ा डिस्कस करते हैं. Question number 33. Option number 3. 34, option number 4, and 35, option number 4. So 3, 4, 4 is the correct answer. So how many of you got all correct passages में? Okay, Jasnani got 2 correct. Mandhani got 2 correct. Prasanna also got 2 correct. सारे गलत हो गए. ओए होए, चलो कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. अब मुझे एक बार पैसेज डिस्कस करते हैं हम लोग, ठीक है? उसके बाद each one of you, every single person who is watching this session will tell me one difficulty they have been facing, right? So start typing, all right, and let me know ताकि we can figure out कहाँ पे किस चीज को फाइन ट्यून करना है. Where have you been finding difficulties in answering this? क्योंकि मुझे जब तक डिफिकल्टीज नहीं पता चलेंगी, I wouldn't be able to tell you the technique to actually counter that difficulty. All right. So for question number 33, what do you think is David Malouf's reason for writing a novel like an imaginary life? Mr. Malouf wanted Ovid to be remembered in the ages to come. Is it mentioned in the passage? I don't think so. Countries of Mr. Malouf and Ovid had certain similarities. Yes, mentioned in the passage, but has it been mentioned that this was the reason? Mr. Malouf feels that Ovid's roots take Malouf back to his own roots. That is nowhere mentioned. That leaves us with only option number 3, that he wanted the author of Metamorphosis to go under one last metamorphosis. He wanted him to go under one last transformation. That means from a person who was living to a person who will now be remembered in his novels. ठीक है, a literary figure who was known as a historical figure and now will be remembered as a fictional figure or as a character in a novel that he has written. That is the transformation we are talking about here. ठीक है, so that's option number 3. Is question number 33 clear to everybody? मिश्रा क्या हो गया, तू नो किस बात को कह रहा है? 3 सबको क्लियर है? 33 आंसर 3 क्यों है? क्योंकि बाकी तीन और ऑप्शन नहीं हो सकते हैं. ठीक है, जिसने भी 1 और 2 मार्क किया है, 2 wasn't enough a reason. Just the familiarity did not make him right. The reason why he wanted to write about him Ovid is because he was a very different character. So he wanted people to remember him for eternity in his novel. And this novel was published in 1978 by the same name. Now, let's come to question number 34. The author states that in Thomas, nothing is free. What does he mean by this statement? Seclusion does not exist in Thomas. This is directly given the passage. If you look at this, ठीक है, यहां पर ये बहुत directly दिया हुआ है. Isolation is an accomplishment only of advanced cultures. Nothing is free and everything is connected by coherent necessity to everything else. So you really don't have anything called isolation. People have no concept of freedom, of having an individualistic life. People work together and survive together because that's how it is. They have to pay a heavy price to even survive. So isolation is an accomplishment only of advanced cultures where, for example, our culture, I can think if I'm earning enough money to get a separate house, live separately and have an individualistic life. If, however, I was living on some island where the resources are very scarce, I couldn't have done that. It was very difficult. So that's what he's talking about here. Moving ahead, question number 35. What can be inferred about the author's tone from the given passage? See, the entire passage, as we discussed, is first about Ovid. You get a brief about Ovid, who he was, why he was banished, and then the entire passage is about the novel that David Miloff wants to write and how is he portraying Ovid in that. Okay, Jasnani, I will fine tune the difficulties that you are facing. Don't worry about that. हम अभी discuss करेंगे उसको, ठीक है? So when you're talking about the author's tone from the given passage, so if you look at these words, author's tone बाकी कहीं पता नहीं चलेगी. How do you find author's tone? First you have to find the crux of the passage. The crux is in the first 2 passages you just describe about Ovid, who is the hero of the novel An Imaginary Life, and then we describe the novel, what we have written in the novel, right? Now, the only place, now you wouldn't find author's tone in these 2 passages because they are just introductory to the idea of the novel. Where do you find author's tone is? His book embodies an original and daring idea, right? That means whatever Mr. Malouf is trying to do is a very good thing. He is doing something which nobody has done before, to write about a poet who was banished by his own kingdom and to write about him in a very different manner, in a transformational manner. So that's why the correct answer here is objective appreciation. He's appreciative of Mr. Malouf's work or whatever kind of transformation he wants to bring about in the character of Ovid. Highly condescending, obviously पूरे passage में कहीं suggest नहीं है. Mild tolerance, then tolerance for what? We don't have to show tolerance for anything. We are not writing about something which is religious or something which can be sacrilegious. Ruefully optimistic, what is there to be optimistic about? So the only option you are left with is option number 4. वैसे भी देखा जाए तो. Alright, so this is where it ends. Anybody has any confusions in whatever I have explained so far from question number 30 to question number 35? These doubts I will discuss right now, ठीक है? But उसके अलावा किसी और को कोई confusion है? Any confusion? Up till now, any question that you want me to discuss again? हाँ भूमिका, I figured that out. Also what Kapil mentioned, I figured out your problems. अभी किसी को कोई issues है? Or should I go about solving your doubts which you have written to me in the chat? Are we clear? from 30 to 36, how things have happened? Any option that needs an explanation? Anybody? So I'm guessing everybody is cool. Everybody has understood जो भी discuss हुआ है. Sure? Okay, ठीक है. Now, तो तुम्हारा जो प्रॉब्लम है उसको डिस्कस करते हैं एक बार. Jasnani is saying you have a difficulty connecting flows, thoughts from one passage to another and comprehending them as an entire passage. ठीक है. Vocab, because the language is very different from the options. Okay. Okay. Third question, there is no confused. Sorry. फर्स्ट 3 में कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है और अभी सभी कोई कंफ्यूजन नहीं है. ठीक है. तो बेसिक प्रॉब्लम आती है पैसेज को कनेक्ट करके उसका क्रक्स फाइंड करने में और टू एग्जैक्टली फाइंड आउट व्हाट दे आर ट्राइंग टू से, व्हाट द हेल इज गोइंग ऑन, राइट? या देखो, इफ यू आर टॉकिंग ओनली अबाउट दिस पैसेज, दिस वाज वन हेक ऑफ अ पैसेज. दिस इज लाइक अ लेवल 3.5 टू लेवल 4 का पैसेज, राइट? इसमें डिफिकल्टी आएगी, इसलिए मैंने आज एक ही पैसेज रखा था. ठीक है. सेकेंड थिंग, आंसरिंग योर क्वेश्चन, द बेस्ट वे टू डू इट इज, अगर प्रॉब्लम आ रही है तो हमें पूरा पैसेज नहीं समझ आएगा, मुझे भी नहीं आता था यार, इट इज ओके, समझने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. हम क्या कर सकते हैं, एक चीज तो कर सकते हैं. अच्छा, टेल मी वन थिंग, देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड डिवाइड एंड कॉन्कर, राइट? हमें पूरा पैसेज समझ नहीं आ रहा है बट हमें छोटे छोटे पैसेजेस समझ आते हैं. सो कैन यू गाइज डू वन थिंग, वेन एवर यू रीडिंग द पैसेज नेक्स्ट, फर्स्ट पैसेज पढ़ा या फर्स्ट पैरा पढ़ा, you take out one central idea what you have understood. एक लाइन में क्या हम उसको लिख सकते हैं, 1 or 2 lines में और 15-20 words में, that okay, in this passage they are talking about some poet who was sent out, banished means this, and Bhumika talking about your thing, vocabulary has to improve. There is no other way we can do it. ठीक है. और other way अगर बात भी करें, a small shortcut which exists is just अगर कुछ कुछ easy words से, if you're able to get a hang of what is exactly happening, verbs देखकर कि actions क्या हो रहे हैं passage के अंदर, if you can get a hang of the story, even the slightest bit, even that would do. ठीक है. But that will be helpful for easier questions. As the question gets a little tougher or difficult, तो फिर थोड़ी दिक्कत होएगी. ठीक है. So how you can proceed is look at the verbs, what happened. So that will enable you to identify what has happened in the entire 4 or 5 lines. Somebody was banished, that means somebody was thrown out from which place? Rome. Okay. Why? Because he was writing something against them in his poetry and he was suggesting that it is okay to do whatever we please. However, Augustus, if you don't understand what he's trying to say, but he is somebody who banished him. That means he was a figure of authority who banished him because he was not August. Now here you need to know the meaning of August. August is very common vocabulary. August means somebody who's not good. So he was not being August or he was not being reverent. Okay, he was not being pious. He was a blasphemic. He was a person who can be accused of blasphemy. ठीक है. तो ऐसे एक सेंट्रल आइडिया हम यहाँ पे निकाल लेंगे, 2-3-4 वर्ड्स या 15-20 words में what exactly happened. So that would be, as an example, there is some guy, if I would write it, there was some guy, Ovid, he was thrown out of Rome and the person who threw him out was Augustus because this person wrote something which was unacceptable to the Roman society. Itna part I guess everybody can figure out from the first passage. Then you go on to the second passage and say, okay, when he was thrown out, then where was he sent? He was sent to some town which is completely outside. Obviously, if you are banishing somebody, you will be sending him out of town, where the civilization is quite different. And he was actually finding it very difficult to even talk to people. So he was not in a very good condition. That's what we are getting from this passage. And so on and so forth. ऐसे करके 3, 4, 5 passages say. So you will come with a very small summary of say around 100 words, where you have a 1 line summary of what the entire passage talks about. तो वो अगर स्टोरी फॉर्मेट आ जाएगा ना कि इस पैसेज में क्या हो रहा है, इस पैसेज में क्या हो रहा है, इस पैसेज में क्या हो रहा है, सो द एंटायर स्टोरी विल बी क्लियर. सो द बेस्ट वे टू डू इट इज पेन इट डाउन साथ में. व्हेन यू डू इट फॉर अ कपल ऑफ पैसेजेस, Say 15, 20, 30, 40 passages. 40 passages के बाद it will start flowing to you on its own. I used to do it the same way, and after around, after a good deal of passages, I never needed to use my pen again. So this is like one of the ways to do it. Does that help you out? Can we try that? AJ, that will come with practice. First thing. Second thing, यार क्रक्स निकालना इतना आसान नहीं होता है, क्योंकि क्रक्स के लिए यू विल हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड द एंटायर पैसेज इन इट्स एंटायरिटी, विच एट टाइम्स विल बी डिफिकल्ट. सो इट इज ओके. ठीक है, तभी तो मतलब नहीं आते हैं इंग्लिश में 100 on 100. इट विल टेक अ लॉन्ग टाइम. सो द इजी वे आउट इज, जितना पार्ट समझ में आ रहा है, कन्वर्ट इट टू अ स्टोरी. Solve as many questions as you can, because the idea is to solve as many questions as you can. The idea is not to understand the passage and become masters of English. The idea is to comprehend as much as it is required for you. Yes, you do. That's why I keep saying, भूमिका हमने एक passage किया है आज, ठीक है? You can do one thing. As I told you, ऋतु की classes होती हैं English की. So उनमें से चेकआउट, उसका पूरा स्केड्यूल रहता है. चेकआउट हर आरसी क्लासेस, आरसी क्लास के पीडीएफ ले लो ऋतु की क्लास के, एंड देन ट्राई टू सॉल्व दोज क्वेश्चंस इन अ सिमिलर मैनर. मेक अ 100 word summary yourself and then figure it out. Do it for at least 20 to 30, 40 passages. उसके बाद it will start coming naturally. But वो 20 to 25 passages का practice थोड़ा करना पड़ेगा. One thing. Second thing, easier way to get the vocab done is passage में wherever you figured out कि okay, this is a word I don't understand the meaning of, write it down. Make a small separate notebook जहाँ पे हम बाकी vocab करते हैं. Write it down so that the more number of times you write it down, by the time of exam हमारा काफी सारा vocab cover हो चुका होगा. And even if it is not covered, you will start getting an idea of how to read between the lines or how to understand the meaning of lines. Is that okay? यस जसनानी, ये एक्चुअली तभी मैंने बोला था, जो ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट आरसीज हो जाएंगे ना, आरसीज का डिफिकल्टी लेवल इंक्रीज ही कैसे करते हैं, when there is very thin line difference between the options. So that will be the level of RCs of ZAT. ठीक है, तो वो फिर तभी आएगा जबकि तुमको पैसेज फुल प्रूफ समझ आ रहा है या फ्लो समझ आ रहा है. और फ्लो समझ आएगा जब हम ये छोटा सा एक्सरसाइज करते हैं एक बार. एंड अनदर वे टू लर्न इट इज, यार अगर वो डिस्कनेक्शन आ रहा है किसी पैसेज में, जैसे फर्स्ट 2-3 पैसेजेस में दे वर ओनली टॉकिंग अबाउट ओविड, इन द नेक्स्ट पैसेज दे वर टॉकिंग अबाउट समबडी राइटिंग अ बुक ऑन हिम, राइट? तो वो थोड़ा थोड़ा इंट्यूशन, व्हेन यू डू मोर एंड मोर पैसेजेस, वो वहीं से डेवलप होएगा. दैट इज, मतलब व्हाटएवर सेड एंड डन, देयर इज नो शॉर्टकट टू प्रैक्टिस. दैट्स व्हाई आई एम आस्किंग यू, ऋतु की क्लासेस लो, ऋतु की क्लासेस के पीडीएफ लो, उसमें आरसीज बहुत कराए हैं ऋतु ने, एंड शी इज अ वेरी अमेजिंग टीचर. तो उसमें सोल्यूशंस भी होंगे. चेक इट आउट. आई हैवंट चेक्ड इट आउट, बट आई नो शी इज एन अमेजिंग टीचर. गेट द पैसेजेस, बैठ के सिर्फ समराइज एक बार करके देख लो. इफ यू आर एबल टू समराइज इट, यू विल अंडरस्टैंड द मीनिंग. और जब वो होने लग जाएगा, आंसर्स करने में बहुत आसानी हो जाएगी. दिस इज फॉर लेवल 4 and 5 पैसेजेस. लेवल 1 से लेवल 3 पैसेज जो इजी पैसेजेस हैं, टिल द लेवल ऑफ टिस, वो तुम पैसेज में वापस जाके चेक कर सकते हो. आंसर्स यू विल डायरेक्टली फाइंड इन द पैसेज, उसमें दिक्कत नहीं आएगी, और यू कैन एलिमिनेट. तो आर वी क्लियर टिल हियर? एंड लेट मी फिगर आउट इफ आई हैव गॉट मोर ways to help you out, I will definitely find them. ठीक है? क्या मिक्सअप हो रहा है मिश्रा तेरा पैसेज में? बता मुझे, क्या मिक्सिंग अप हो रहा है पैसेज के अंदर? Paki, do you have a notebook where you have written those words? Give 15 minutes to them. Khana kha rahi hai, ya when you're just roaming around, don't want to do anything, just open the booklet and see the words you have done. That should be enough. भूमिका, बड़े पैसेजेस मत पढ़, छोटे ही पढ़. जैसे ये वाला बहुत छोटा था, इट वॉजंट वेरी बिग. इतने ही साइज का पैसेज पढ़ो, से 500-600 वर्ड्स. उसका समरी बनाने में टाइम नहीं लगता है. एंड भूमिका, रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन मीन्स यू हैव टू रीड इट. So you can do timed exercises. When I started off my preparation, my reading speed was very slow. So what I did was I used to take RCs, calculate the number of words there that are there, ठीक है, say 500, 600, used to set my timer and then try to read it within 2 minutes or 3 minutes. तो वो multiple passages के साथ when you practice, the time eventually comes down. AJ, इंटोनिम्स एंड सिनोनिम्स में कोई दिक्कत नहीं आएगी. एनालॉजीज मैं सिखा दूंगी क्लास के अंदर अच्छे से. एनालॉजीज में ज्यादा कुछ नहीं होता है. ईदर इट्स द डू और द डूअर. देयर इज वन पर्सन हु इज द डूअर एंड दिस इज व्हाट ही डज. उसका ऑक्यूपेशन होता है. द वन दैट वी डिड यस्टरडे, इमेंडेशन इन एडिटर, राइट. तो ऐसा या तो ऐसा होगा, ऑक्यूपेशन एंड द पर्सन डूइंग इट, और ऑफ इंटेंसिटी का डिफरेंस होगा, और देयर विल बी एन एंटोनिम पेयर और सिनोनिम पेयर. चार के अलावा एनालॉजी में और कुछ आता ही नहीं है, और इट विल बी बिगर टू स्मॉल. मिल जाएगा भूमिका, ऋतु मैम की क्लासेस में होगा. एल्स रिमाइंड मी, आई विल स्टार्ट गिविंग यू गाइस पैसेजेस फॉर होम. तो एक बार जाके पढ़ लो उनको. मिश्रा देख, अगर जहां पे ऐसा होता है ना कि फर्स्ट पैरा इज डिफरेंट एंड सेकंड पैरा इज डिफरेंट, जैसा कि इस केस में था, ठीक है, सो इसमें क्रक्स नहीं फाइंड करना है. इसमें तेरे को सिर्फ फ्लो देखना है कि एग्जैक्टली उन्होंने फर्स्ट पैरा बताया क्यों है. जैसे यहाँ पे इफ यू लुक एट द फ्लो, दे हैव टोल्ड यू द फर्स्ट पैरा सो दैट यू अंडरस्टैंड व्हाई दिस गाय इज इवन राइटिंग अबाउट ओविड, व्हाट एग्जैक्टली हैपेंड. सो इट्स एन इंट्रोडक्टरी पैरा एंड द रेस्ट पैरा इज अबाउट राइटिंग ऑफ अ नॉवल. तो जब क्वेश्चंस भी आएंगे ना, इफ यू ऑब्जर्व द क्वेश्चंस, वो दोनों को मिक्स करके कभी नहीं आ रहे हैं. तो when they were asking you about Meloof, you knew you had to only come to this passage. You wouldn't have to read the first two passages. जैसे हम जब ये आंसर कर रहे थे, when I told you an original and daring idea, or when we talking about the metamorphosis part, they are all answers from this passage. हमें पहले के दो passage तो consider ही नहीं करने थे when we are talking about Meloof. Yes, done then. तो मैं तुम लोगों को आरसी के पैसेजेस भेज दूंगी. I'll put it on the group. ठीक है, तो एक बार उसको खुद से थोड़ा सा प्रैक्टिस कर लो. दो चीजें करना उसमें. If there are questions, I'll try to include the questions as well. If there are questions, तो questions तो सॉल्व करना ही, और उसके अलावा पैसेजेस की टाइम्ड रीडिंग करो. सिर्फ 500 वर्ड्स हैं, 2 मिनट 2.5 मिनट में खत्म हो जाना चाहिए. You want the editorials? ओके, आई सेंड यू एडिटोरियल्स. ठीक है, मैं इंडियन एक्सप्रेस के एडिटोरियल्स भेजूंगी, कुछ इंडियन एक्सप्रेस के, कुछ हिंदू के. सो गो थ्रू देम. There'll be good passages for you to begin with, and maybe we can do one thing actually. All right, we can do this thing. Tomorrow onwards or Monday onwards, let's do this activity. I'll ask you to read a couple of editorials, and at the end of the class, ठीक है, we'll discuss those editorials. So I'll do that exercise with you कि summarize करते हैं इसको class में, so that the understanding increases. Is that okay? Apart from that, I want you to do one more thing. जैसे poems आती हैं, so I want you to actually go and look at this poem which I was telling you today, which is this one, The Tufts of Flowers. It's a very easy poem. ठीक है, एक बार पढ़ लो, क्योंकि ये जो फेमस लोग हैं ना, इन्हीं की पोएम्स आती हैं एग्जाम्स के अंदर. रीड द पोएम, एंड देयर इज अ वेबसाइट कॉल्ड क्लिफ नोट्स, और देयर आर सम अदर वेबसाइट्स आल्सो. सो इफ यू राइट द टफ्ट्स ऑफ फ्लावर्स मीनिंग और समरी, ठीक है, फर्स्ट रीड द समरी ऑफ द पोएम एंड देन ट्राई टू रीड द पोएम, because poems will increase your comprehending ability. So whenever you are bored, whenever you don't want to do any other activity, go through a couple of poems. अच्छे poets की poems देखो from English literature. That will really help you boost your vocab as well as your comprehending ability very quickly. ठीक है? So are we sorted? I have not been able to answer all your queries, but I'm trying my level best. क्योंकि यार आरसी का चीज ये है, you have to be reading for a very very long time and you need to read regularly, like read a lot regularly. और वैसे एक और चीज कर सकते हो, जैसे जो भी पैसेजेस मैं तुम्हारे साथ डिस्कस करती हूँ, जैसे आज मैंने तुम्हें एग्जाम्पल्स दिए, अ टेल ऑफ टू सिटीज, ठीक है, वी डिस्कस्ड 1984 जॉर्ज ऑरवेल की, तो ऐसे कुछ कुछ चीजें मैंने तुम्हारे साथ डिस्कस की. आई डिस्कस दी टफ्ट्स ऑफ फ्लावर्स. सो व्हेन यू गो बैक होम, ठीक है, इन 3-4 चीजों की लिस्ट बना लो एंड गो एंड रीड अबाउट देम ऑन विकिपीडिया. Go and read about them on Goodreads. So that will give you access to some very good quotations. तो language के साथ familiarity बढ़ेगी. Only reading editorials will not help because what they ask you is passages from literature. So जो हम क्लास में करते हैं, अगर मैंने टेल ऑफ टू सिटीज से कोई पैसेज दिया है या मैंने कुछ बताया है, सो गो एंड ट्राई टू रीड इट्स मीनिंग कि वो ऐसा क्यों लिखा गया था, क्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट था. व्हेन यू रीड अबाउट द ऑथर यू गेट एन आइडिया उनके और भी अच्छे वर्क्स के बारे में और कोटेशंस के बारे में. एंड Goodreads इज अ वेरी गुड प्लेटफॉर्म where you can go and read something which is very nice. So does that work, everybody? So we'll call it a night. So good night everyone. All right, then thank you and good night. See you guys tomorrow.